Damn, I'm about to have to turn this off. Oh my God. What did we do? What did we do? There we go. All right. Of course, we would start out with some technical difficulties. Of course, we would start out with some technical difficulties. All right. So, first and foremost, let me say this. I think Terrence Howard, once again, now I'm only doing this. Sometimes I don't take stuff serious. That the culture takes serious. Sometimes I don't take things as serious as the culture does. And so, sometimes I'll miss a moment, because I will underestimate or sometimes overestimate. Now, in this situation, I may have, and I apologize if this any way comes off as arrogant, but I may have overestimated the intelligence of the viewing audience. I may have overestimated the intelligence of the viewing audience. And like when the COVID hit, let's talk about the COVID for a second. When the COVID hit, right? I told everybody, all of our people, I said, listen, just keep doing the monthly detox. Now, mind you, we got an antiviral kit that cost more. We got other things that I could have tried to like price gouge with everybody else. Your man KT was selling $2 bags of vitamin D for $120, half price for $60 for half of the bag. So basically, he was selling $1 worth of pills for $60. I could have price gouged with everybody else. I didn't price gouge. I told everybody, just keep doing the same thing you've been doing. Now you're like, oh, dang, EnQi pocket watching. He telling people wholesale prices. I'm only mentioning that because that's one of the things we fell out about. You know what I'm saying? And we was, that was a joint venture that we was doing. And then he wanted me to sell them at the same price as he was. And I was like, I'm not selling. Why would I? This is crazy. I'm not selling this to my people for no $60, bro. Why? If we're getting it at a low price, we should sell it at a low price. So we fell out about it. That's one of the things we fell out about. But when the situation happened, based on the data, based on the science, right? Based on the science, I said, no. I've been telling y'all for 10 years about the NRF2 system. We're good. NRF2 system, we don't worry about it. Keep your NRF2 system up. Sunlight, regular, like same old protocols. Follow the protocols. We Gucci. And everybody stayed focused, and we're on the other side, right? And now on the other side, a lot of things have changed, right? It's been down regulated, and all kinds of changes have been made. They've noticed some issues with. So you got to remember, with radio, when radio first started, they played a play. It was supposed to be, of an alien invasion, and it started mass panic, right? So you got to realize that humans are herd animals. There's nothing wrong with being called a herd animal. When people get grouped into the masses, or humans are herd animals, like they take that in a derogatory way. It's not derogatory. It's not a derogatory thing. Humans are herd creatures. You know what I'm saying? Like that's not a derogatory thing. Humans are herd animals. The thing is, who are you attached to? Right? My moms used to tell me all the time, if you hang around 9 broke guys, you're going to be the 10th. If you hang around 9 rich guys, you're going to be the 10th. So it's not about, being a herd animal is a disrespect. No, who are you attached to? And it's, for me anyway, by my morals and standards and principles, it's about the mind. Right? So are you attached to 9 people who challenge your intelligence? People who are intelligent in and of themselves, or are you attached to, this is why, like, this is our driving force. This is my driving force. You know what I'm saying? Like, we need the education, because 99% of the people that's amazed, astounded, by this Terrence Howard video are just people who simply are not studied. So because they're not studied, they're being astounded by, things that are incorrect. Things that are incorrect. And so we're going to take a look at, I'm a little bit early. We're supposed to start at 5, right? So I'm a little bit early, but we're going to take a look at this Joe Rogan and Terrence Howard video. In fact, before we do that, right? Before we do that, we're going to take a look. We're going to take a look at some other things while we give the family at home time to tune in. Make sure y'all thumbs up the video, subscribe, resubscribe, unsubscribe, resubscribe, hit the thumbs up. Like, take a second to, you know what I'm saying? Come in the house, take your shoes off at the door. You know what I mean? Get you a cold drink from the kitchen, sit down on the comfortable place in the living room. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on in, hit the subscribe. If you have not, if you already subscribed, unsubscribe, resubscribe again. Like, come on in and make yourself comfortable. Make yourself at home for a minute.
Peace to the family. This is Abdul Ali, candidate for U.S. House District 12 here in Charlotte, North Carolina. Let's just be real, folks. The Democrats have destroyed our major cities. Their policies have made us less safe. They've given us less economic opportunity, and they've provided less educational opportunities for our children. And that's why I'm running for Congress, because I know what it takes to improve these issues. I've got great working relationships already in D.C. I've spent the last 10 years of my life building my political resume so that one of us, somebody who thinks like we do, could get into D.C. and make a difference. I want you to visit aliforcongress.com to find out more about my campaign. The Democrats have already done enough, and now they're putting illegal aliens in front of people like you and me, folks whose ancestors built this country and made it what it is today. So again, I'm asking you to support me in my run for U.S. House District 12 here in North Carolina. You don't have to live in North Carolina to support, because what happens in Congress affects the entire country. So again, it's aliforcongress.com. I hope to have your support. Peace and love, y'all.
All right. Let's go on over here real quick. And check out Instagram for a second. Let's go on over here and check out Instagram for a minute. Are y'all on my Instagram page? Y'all should be on my Instagram page. I need to get on my Instagram page. All right, now let's go on over here. Let's start down here. Have y'all seen this?
What's happening? Talk to me, man. We got Dr. Anthony Browder in the building, brother. What's up, man?
How you doing, Saad? Thanks for pulling me up. What the question I have is primarily related to science. And I guess I got maybe two questions, quick questions, not I'm not going to take up too much time, but the first question is, how adept from your studies in Kemet do you feel the Kemetic scientists were in their understanding of the human anatomy and its relationship to the environment?
Well, I can read works of Dr. Richard King, who's now an ancestor, psychiatrist. He was the first person I encountered back in 1978 who dealt with Kemetic understanding of human biology, Kemetic understanding of the functions of the brain. So we know very clearly, based on his work, the work of Naeem Akbar, the work of Asa Hilliard, and other scholars, that the word science means to know. And the first scientists were African people who studied their environment. And what they realized is that everything on Earth is directly related to things off planet, to the cosmos, that there's a direct cause and effect relationship. So they studied the environment, they studied the heavens, they documented all of their studies and taught others. And with this intergenerational transference of knowledge, they were able to develop the first calendar 365 and a quarter days, as late as 4,230 BC. They were able to develop architecture. They were able to develop medicine and surgery, engineering.
EnQi, I got to say this to you. You are the face now of the health and nutrition right now. You are the most qualified brother to speak on health and nutrition. It is you, and you better make the best of it, brother. You better do the right thing, do what you got to do.
Now, I had a different question, but I'm going to put that on the back burner. If we get to it, we get to it. But because now you done opened up some doors. So science is one thing, but the application of science is equally as important as what. So what I want to ask you is, because if we don't develop tools, right? And that's one of the things that separates us from any form of other primates, our ability to create tools and then our ability to utilize them. Can you speak to, in your travels, metallurgy and the development of high-level blacksmithing in Kenya and then in the surrounding places? Because they found remnants of metallurgy, and so I'm excited to hear what you.
All right. Well, look, that's not my thing. That's not my area of expertise. The person that I knew who spoke eloquently on that subject matter was Ivan Van Sertima, and he documented steel smelting facilities within Africa, and not just in the Nile Valley, in West Africa as well. So there are numerous examples of Africans on the continent having this technical expertise. As I said, that's not my area of specialization, but if you read the works of Ivan Van Sertima, he does document where that information can be found.
EnQi, I got to say this to you. You are the face now of the health and nutrition right now. You are the most qualified, brother, to speak on health and nutrition. It is you, and you better make the best of it, brother. You better do the right thing, do what you got to do. Make sure that people always remember, the customers are always right. The customers are always right. Even if they're wrong, brother, take care of the business first. That's very important, because the minute people start saying, yo, I didn't get this, I didn't get my product, what's up with this? Make sure you take care of the people.
This is flexing, right? And this is just in this last year. All these books right here is on Amazon. I wrote. Peace and blessings out there to everybody. My name is Dr. EnQi, the founder of the Melanin versus Diabetes movement and ministry. Our goal is to fight diabetes by creating a biochemically literate society, one book at a time, one person at a time, one household at a time. Join us now by going to Amazon.com and getting all of the books, getting all of the books that you can afford.
That's what I think we should be focusing on.
And what could be more gangster than building pyramids and temples all over the world?
And look, the first temple you build is in your body. The temple in man, the temple in mind. So let's do one more question before we jump off.
All right, bet. So
all right. You can't get that last question, EnQi. Fall back.
I'm talking specifically.
Somebody else. Hold on. So look. So wait.
Yeah.
So there's two new things that I wanted to ask you about, and because I feel like one of the largest contributions from Kemet is the math and the science part. I think that people spend a lot of time on the language and the cultural part, but the math and the science. And just now, they're making a big deal about Egyptian blue, which for the people that don't know, is the world's first ever synthetic paint or pigment, and it was created in Kemet. But the mastery with the chemistry is when you shine visible light on it, it radiates out infrared. So I just want to know, how do you feel about chemistry and this relationship to Africa and what we could do going forward to, further that, in our babies, in our minds, as a part of our cultural heritage or intellectual property that we need to kind of get back into?
Sure, I appreciate the question, brother. And anybody who knows that the word chemistry was derived from the word kemet, the knowledge of kemet. That's clear. And I saw in the chat someone said, well, when is he going to answer the question about whether or not kemet means the black soil? Anyone who has studied the language, studied the history and culture should know that kemet refers to the black people of the land, right? The black people of the land. And so if we look at kemet, if we look at Kush means the black people of the land. Let's look at the word Ethiopia. Ethiopia means the burnt skinned people, the black people of that land. So all of these names, Kush, Kemet and Ethiopia reference the African people, the indigenous African people who lived in the lands that gave birth to humanity, culture, and civilization. So we don't have to engage in arguments with anybody about that. If people want to argue, I'll just turn the page and move on. We've got better things to do with that time. And brother, the question that you raised about the chemistry and the Egyptian blue, this royal blue, these are the qualities of questions that we really need to be focusing on, because it deals specifically with science, which means knowledge, things that can be proven, right? So math was never my strong point, right? I flunked chemistry in high school, right? I was terrible with algebra. I'm an artist by training, right? And have had aspirations when I was in high school and college, had aspirations of being an architect. And one of the things that deterred me from that path was my phobia of math. But at my heart, I'm still an artist, and I still have this profound appreciation for architecture. So I can share with you, and obviously you have an affinity for math and science, and that's wonderful. We need to encourage that. What I am beginning now to truly understand in Kemet, and specifically in Luxor, Waset, is the significance of the sacred landscape, the architecture, and what is referred to as architectonics, the creation of buildings and the spaces around the buildings that are designed in such a manner that they influence the consciousness of people who see these objects, who move within these spaces, and it affects their consciousness. So we know for a fact that the orientation of buildings to the winter solstice or the summer solstice or the equinoxes, we find that information is now coming to the fore, where we now know that every major temple in Kemet was oriented to the equinoxes or the solstices. We also know that within these temples, which were considered to be sacred grounds, a heaven on earth, we know that different quality stones were used, granite, limestone, sandstone, and many of these stones have quartz in them, and quartz vibrates at different frequencies. So you can change the harmonics of a room just by using a different type of stone. The same thing applies to the colors that images are painted within these tombs. Each color vibrates at a different frequency. So we're dealing with harmonics, we're dealing with frequency, we're dealing with a level of science which the average Egyptologist, if I can say, has no awareness of whatsoever. So this doesn't mean anything to them, which is one of the reasons why we have experts who are not Egyptologists, but have expertise in chemistry or mathematics or astronomy or architecture or engineering. They're bringing their professional training into this field, and they're seeing things that the experts will never be able to see. And so it takes an expanded consciousness in order to understand and break down the expansiveness of the consciousness that was constructed in the Nile Valley for over a period of 3,000 years. It's the highest concentration of human knowledge production on the planet, and it's waiting for the right people to come with the right intentions so that information can be delivered to those who need it the most.
EnQi, I got to say this to you. You are the face now of the health and nutrition right now. You are the most qualified brother to speak on health and nutrition. It is you, and you better make the best of it, brother. You better do the right thing, do what you got to do. Make sure that people always remember, the customers are always right. The customers are always right. Even if they're wrong, brother, take care of the business first. That's very important, because the minute people start saying, yo, I didn't get this, I didn't get my product, what's up with this? Make sure you take care of the people.
This is flexing, right? And this is just in this last year. All these books right here is on Amazon. I wrote. Peace and blessings out there to everybody. My name is Dr. EnQi, the founder of the Melanin versus Diabetes movement and ministry. Our goal is to fight diabetes by creating a biochemically literate society, one book at a time, one person at a time, one household at a time. Join us now by going to Amazon.com and getting all of the books, getting all of the books that you can afford.
That's what I think we should be focusing on.
And what could be more gangster than building pyramids and temples all over the world? So
And look, the first temple you build is in your body. The temple in man, the temple in mind. You can build a temple in your mind.
Stop the recording then.
I want to ask you about your last health inspection, sir. We have a couple of quick questions. Hey!
The news is what?
Come on now. We want to ask about the inspection.
Ask about the inspection.
I'm gonna knock your ass.
You learned to roll with the punches while exposing Metro Atlanta's worst health violations.
You have to leave.
And by popular demand,
Fake news.
this is the greatest hits of the restaurant report card.
Are you serving this to people?
No. Sorry, sir. You can't come up for me.
I recently questioned management at New China on New Hope Road in Lawrenceville after an employee was caught cutting meat on the ground outside the restaurant.
Meat is being cut behind the restaurant on the ground. I want to make sure that's not being served to customers.
No, it's not.
Management said the employee was preparing food for his own consumption and was later fired. And who could forget about this incident? An inspector forced an employee to throw away food at the crispy, crunchy chicken inside the Chevron on Fulton Industrial in Atlanta. This after rats were seen roaming around the kitchen area.
How many rats do you have here?
Like 10, 15, some
10 to 15 rats here?
like this sometimes.
And they're getting into the food?
The store was forced to stop food sales and then temporarily shut down to get rid of the rats.
Adam, you're not welcome over here.
And last but not least, I wore out my welcome at Napoli Pizzeria in Sandy Springs.
You have a 49 and a U, but you have a 90 up there on the wall.
Okay, you guys are not welcome here.
I got kicked out of the business after questioning management about moldy food in the restaurant.
Two things to tell you. Thank you for coming.
Now it's time for dessert. Maybe a McFlurry or an ice cream cone? Nope, the machine's broken again. Do you ever wonder why? Well, one reason was recently brought to light by an employee named Nick, who showed the moldy black sludge that gunks up the machines on Twitter. He was rewarded by getting fired. Still ready to order?
I went to school for chemical engineering, and I realized, my God, if I had followed my proper course, I could have saved my mother. I went to school for chemical engineering because the knowledge that I had, I went to school for chemical engineering. And so I got in touch with the University of Science and Philosophy. I went to school for chemical engineering after watching some stuff about Walter Russell. And I went to school for chemical engineering. And Michael Hudak, took me under his wing and started talking to me, but he was more into the philosophy and the love that Walter was talking about. I went to school for chemical engineering, but my intention was to rebuild the periodic table, build a new periodic table, because the stuff I had learned in college, I went to school for chemical engineering. I went to school for chemical engineering the first year over at Pratt. I went to school for chemical engineering.
EnQi, I got to say this to you. You are the face.
And cobalt on this chart here is surrounded by 5 minerals above and 5 minerals below, called isotopes. And without B12, you cannot pull in iron, manganese, chromium, nickel, copper.
I think right about there, it's after 5 o'clock. Okay, so we here, we live, so we can get to the business. Now, when we had this when I was talking about our new endeavor to attack heart disease, to attack cardiovascular disease. And people just, couldn't, contain themselves. excuse me, they was coming in the chat. Doc, you got to say something about the Terrence Howard thing. And for me, it wasn't that deep. Because in my mind, right, I'm writing these books. And I'll be honest, there's a statistic thing where I could check and see if the books is selling and how much they sold and what and all that, the analytics. I haven't even looked at that thing in months because I just be so embroiled in the actual writing, you know what I'm saying, and trying to get the information out. So in my mind, if you're watching, I'm thinking you're definitely got a little tiny library at your house by now. You got all these books. I just know in my mind, you got all these books. I'm like, yo, I know you got to have these books because I know you got these books, right? So when we get a brother like Terrence Howard, and, you know, I try to put my best construction on it, you know, because I do feel like at somewhere in there is a positive motive, right? But this is a prime example of what I'm saying by scientific literacy. He's using, and this is what I tell you people do all the time, and I know some of y'all may not want to hear this. He has some schooling. He went to school for what? Chemical engineering. This is the whole thing I've been telling y'all forever. Like, yo, we have to learn the periodic table. We have to learn the periodic table. Everything, it doesn't matter what type of science you're talking about. It's all built on top of that periodic table. There's not another set of things that exist. Everything in the world is built out of those things. So it doesn't matter where you take science, you gotta have that foundation. You can't like jump out there and act like you know physics if you don't know about the periodic table, because physics is about the rules that govern the things that are made out of the periodic table. So if you don't understand how those things are made, you can't understand, like, if you want to, you know, like Newton's apple, you know, the apple, if you don't understand what the apple is made out of, you don't understand what the gas is made out of, you talking about physics is like everything starts right there. Health guys, this one, that, it doesn't matter. A computer guy, this is why I've been trying to get you guys to understand it all works the same. And when we was having the conversation, I told y'all, because I hate when people do it to me. I hate when people steal my information and pass it off as theirs. A, it's disingenuous. And you're robbing me. But B, which is equally as important as A, is that you don't even know how to deliver it properly. Now, I told y'all, he's stealing the drip from somewhere. I said, yo, it's a white guy. I seen him about 15 years ago, 20 years ago, saying word for word this same Walter Russell program. But a lot of what he was saying it wasn't, you know, it was more sales ploy than anything else, which is what Terrence Howard got going on. He trying to sell some shit. You know, he trying to get a bag. You know what I'm saying? So he trying to get a bag. And the thing is, people don't understand what he's saying, but because it's a black man, and I please don't misconstrue what I'm saying. I love it. People are enamored with an intelligent black man. Nothing more powerful in the world, but nothing's more destructive than somebody like communicating ideas that they themselves don't fully understand, especially if it's something for people to try to like live their life to. You know what I'm saying? So here's the guy. I just put a little tiny, a little piece just to show I wasn't messing around.
Copper, zinc, germanium, titanium, vanadium. You just can't get them in. Simple.
It ain't no fun when the rabbit got the gun, you heard?
And cobalt on this chart here is surrounded by 5 minerals above and 5 minerals below, called isotopes. And without B12, you cannot pull in iron, manganese, chromium, nickel, copper, zinc, germanium, titanium, vanadium. You just can't get them in. Simple as that. B12 is the link between metal and non-metal.
It ain't no fun when the rabbit got the gun, you heard?
And cobalt on this chart here is surrounded by 5 minerals above and 5 minerals below.
Yo, your man wasn't studying Walter Russell, man. He was YouTube surfing. He was YouTube surfing. Okay. So again, I think that Terrence Howard is a very intelligent man. I would love to have a conversation with him, but because you guys are basically demanding this, I have to do this review. I have to do this review. I have to do it. He had some good points, but basically he had a 3-hour drone commercial. Bro, that was fake. Hey, that was fake. No, listen to what I'm saying. That was fake. You know what? We're gonna have to go to the work. We're gonna have to get to the actual review, because I can tell that we need to really review this information. I can tell that we really need to review this information. All right, so how do I do this? All right, let's go here. Get this thing together. All right. Okay. Let's go there. Drop that. All right, so there we go. We got the IG family. Peace to the IG family. Okay, now let's go. Okay, bang.
doubled in each octave. And he was like, no, each element is the same element and it will always be that element. And I was like, you don't see the relationship. So I left school and I was going to spend 40 years rebuilding the periodic table. And I found out that Walter Russell had already did that. And he did it based upon the natural curvature of everything.
And when you say rebuild the periodic table, what do you mean specifically?
Well, the way the periodic table is laid out, the periodic table they have now, already put that together. And at a guy named John Keeley, who had worked with freak. And during that period of time, I started waking up in my dreams again. And I started patenting them. As I moved along, I got in touch with Michael Hudak. He was the president of the University of Science and Philosophy because I was studying a guy named John Keeley, who had worked with frequency back in the 1870s, had built the first what do they call it? Self-sustaining engine. Back in 1872, but he wouldn't tell people how he built it. And I was watching a program with Del Pons, and somebody in the audience said, doesn't John Keeley's work remind you a lot of Walter Russell? And a bell went on. And so I got in touch with the University of Science and Philosophy after watching some stuff about Walter Russell.
After watching some stuff about Walter Russell. See, listen, if you listen and you know what to listen for, you will be able to see where the truth accidentally slips out. So this whole Walter Russell thing, he just young Pharaoh'd. The whole Walter Russell thing, he young Pharaoh. That's the whole career of young Pharaoh, is watching other people's videos and then turning on his camera and remixing other people's content. Terrence Howard pulled a fast one on the masses with this. And he's been heavily promoted because this is gobbledygook. This is gobbledygook. This is gobbledygook. And we're going to review as respectfully as possible. You know what I'm saying? But I showed you the guy. I showed you the clip, right? Because I got Instagram is now live. I can't show the clip again because I can't open two Instagram pages at the same time. But I showed you the guy already, right? I showed you the clip, the very same video that he said he was watching. Or he didn't say he was watching. He tried to make it seem like he's studied up on Walter Russell or somehow no. All he did was watch somebody else's YouTube video and then try to remix it. And we're going to get a little deeper into this.
And they're watching some stuff about Walter Russell and Science and Philosophy after watching some stuff about Walter Russell and Michael Hudak, took me under his wing and started talking to me, but he was more into the philosophy and the love that Walter was talking about. But my intention was to rebuild the periodic table, build a new periodic table, because the stuff I had learned in college, I went to school for chemical engineering the first year over at Pratt. And they, at the time, I think it was like 108 elements. And I told the teacher, the professor, about the relationship between hydrogen on the spectrometer and carbon and silicon and cobalt. And I was like, it's the same exact color, same tone, just doubled in each octave. And he was like, no, each element is the same element and it will always be that element. And I was like, you don't see the relationship. So I left school and I.
Okay. I'll keep it up there. But I need y'all to get these books. I need y'all to get to studying, because what he's saying is, listen, he's an actor. He understands how to move the masses and how to tap into people's emotions. That's what he knows how to do, and that's what he's doing. Adam, right? I'm trying to figure out exactly how to say this correctly because he bent the truth. So because he's bending the truth, when you take a good lie, right? A good lie has the truth wrapped in untruth, right? And the more untruth is wrapped around the truth, the easier it is to spot the lie and you know. But the more percentage of truth is in there, the harder it becomes to separate fact from fiction. So, an atom, you basically have the core of the atom, right? Protons, nucleuses, whatever. You have your positive charge, right? On the outside of the atom, the part of the atom that all chemistry is based on is the negative charge or the electron, right? Now, electrons are in perpetual movement. It's perpetual movement. It's a field, it's a charged field. It's not like a static particle, right? This is why they tell you that a particle is a wave is a particle, right? A particle is a wave is a particle, right? Or a wave behaves like a particle, cool. Each atom is distinguished based on the amount of these charged particles or waves, right? So each one has an individual fingerprint based on its individual frequency, right? And so when you say frequency, what 99.99999% of the world interprets frequency as is sound, light, or color. 99.99999% of the world, they interpret frequency to mean sound, light, or color. This is why I'm saying I need y'all to get these books, because one of the biggest things that I know, it's like one of those moments. Listen, if y'all been following me for a while, y'all know every so often I say something so far ahead of the pack. So far ahead of the pack, it takes a while for people to catch up and realize, like, wait, what did EnQi did EnQi say that? Listen to what I'm telling y'all. Like Chris Rock, do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth? Waves of energy are colorless. I've been saying this so long. You don't see with your eyes, you don't hear with your ears, you see and you hear with your mind. Listen, sound is not something that exists outside of you. Light is not something that exists outside of you. Color is not something that exists outside of you. All these things only exist in your mind. I know this might have like some Mandela effect, or you might be tripping, you might be high, you might be on mushrooms or whatever. I don't know what state of mind you're in listening to this. So this might be hard to swallow. Pause. But I need you to get this, because a large part of understanding science is you understanding that fact. Maybe even, you know, Understanding the relationship with the creator. Understanding your blessing. If that's, if that's what you're into, right? If that's what you're into, right? But you have to understand waves of energy do not have a color. Waves of energy are not light. Waves of energy, they don't have sound. You have pigment. Your human body is a resonator. It is a resonator. Your body is a resonator. Your body is built with a crystal lattice structure, and it's built in a Russian doll way, where you have a crystal lattice structure inside a crystal lattice structure inside a crystal lattice structure with a whole bunch of zillions and billions of little tiny crystal lattice structures built inside of each other. Your body is designed to absorb waves and then interpret those waves. Your body interprets. Your pigment receives waves at a certain speed. Your pigment interprets those waves as sound, as color, as touch, as taste. Your senses are the major ways, right? Because you have more, but those are the major ways that your body interprets those waves. All you have to do to really understand this, besides buying the book, right, is go on Google while I'm talking and look up how different animals see things. You'll see that a human sees something, a bug looking at the same thing sees it totally differently. Your dog or your cat looking at the same thing sees it totally differently. Why? Because they have different pigments. So because they got different pigment, they can't see certain waves. They can't interpret them. And some animals have pigments that make them interpret the waves differently. This is why different animals have different range of sound. If it's too high or too low, you can't hear it. So if it's too high or too low, what does that mean? That means that it's not there. That means it's not active. No, it just means that your pigment can't register it. So there are plenty of things that exist that you cannot see and hear because they are outside your range of discernment. So what I'm trying to, hopefully get across to you is that atoms do not have a musical frequency. An atom doesn't have a sound frequency like that. It's just waves. You have a specific range of pressure, mechanical waves that you can interpret as sound. See, if you get the books, when you get the books, you're going to see that I go as far in detail in the book to show you the cochlea, right? Not only to show you the cochlea, but to show you at the base of the cochlea is where your highs. If you ever been in the studio, you got highs, mids, and lows, right? The lows is where the base is. The cochlea is made like a spiral seashell. At the base of that seashell, the bottom is where all the highs resonate. In the middle part of that seashell, you got your mids, and at the apex is where the low sounds are, the peak, right? The peak. That's why they affect the body so much. those are sent by neurons to the brain where those sounds, that vibration is replayed. And that's where sound exists. Only in your mind. It's not an intrinsic quality that's happening outside you. Just because somebody can make a loud yo, when they do that, yo, they're sending out pressure waves. And those pressure waves, you receive those pressure waves and turn that back into yo, but the yo is not traveling. The waves are traveling. Why do you think space is dark? See, these are questions you got to ask yourself. They're counterintuitive based on how you've been learning and things you need to unlearn. If the space between the sun and earth is dark and cold, cold and dark, that tells you right there that that tells you right there, waves do not have light. Light is something you're interpreting with your pigment. This is why we got to get out of this chakra thing and all of this foolishness, because Terrence Howard is in that chakra universe. So once you indulge in the chakra universe, all of a sudden, actual biology goes out of the window. And it's disgusting when a brown or a black person, somebody that's blessed with high levels of pigment, would throw all that out the window with a chakra understanding, with to try to understand gobbledygook. So I'm trying to explain this as best as I can to you. This is gobbledygook. We're going to keep on going.
I was going to spend 40 years rebuilding the periodic table, and I found out that Walter Russell had already did that. And he did it based upon the natural curvature of everything.
And when you say rebuild the periodic table, what do you mean specifically?
Well, the way the periodic table is laid out, the periodic table they have now,
Let's see.
It looks like a box.
Image of it.
It looks like a straight box.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't show the relationship that between every element, there's two All
right, here's the periodic table.
Hey there. Thanks for visiting our channel. We hope
you'll see hydrogen sitting all the way over there by itself, but they don't show that hydrogen has the same tone as carbon.
What do you mean by tone?
Same tone, same key of E. Same key of E. 40.
Yo, Joe Rogan is a funny nigga, bro. Joe Rogan is wild for this shit.
0.5 hertz. The next one would be like 81 hertz. You go to silicon.
Okay, listen. To actually try to get a sound frequency, right? Because a sound frequency is different than what you get on a spectrometer, right? Sound frequency is completely different than what you would get on the spectrometer. Now, what you're getting on the spectrometer is based on the different waves that the atom re-radiates. Each atom absorbs light and then re-radiates that light in an individual fingerprint. So, first of all, each atom's fingerprint is just as unique as each human's. So you could say that all humans have fingers. Oh yeah, it's the same finger like this finger. Like each atom's spectrometer or spectrometer reading, right, is individual to it. That's why you can use it to identify atoms. Now, to try to get an actual sound frequency from an atom, that atom would have to be built into a molecule. It would have to be in a medium. Then in that medium, you would have to have certain parameters set. Like you would have to say, for instance, graphene at this specific temperature vibrates like this. So carbon in graphene at this temperature vibrates like this. Because if you change the temperature, that's going to change the movement of the molecules in that room exposed to that temperature. Temperature is one of the main things that controls chemical reactions. Chemical reactions happen because of the speed at which the chemicals are moving. So there's not an intrinsic way to go, oh yeah, this is key of E. Like it, I'm trying to tell you, this is why you got to have education, because some things you can't even just microwave. You got to build into an understanding. That's why in school, no matter what type of school it is, it's grades. You got to learn this before you learn this. And when you're going through some of the books, there's some things in the books, like little sections from encyclopedias or articles or things you got to read. And it might seem disconnected at the time, but it's foundational to you getting a well-rounded understanding. Because I never want to like do this kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? Like I always want to give you a 360-degree purview of whatever it is that we're discussing, so that you can go look it up and verify and make sure that, you know, it's whatever it's supposed to be.
Silicone, it will double up and would be 162 hertz. You'll go to cobalt and it'll be 324 hertz. It's, you know, in that base. If you were to
hold on, let me pull up a periodic table for a second. Did he just say? Yo, I'm gonna let this go.
Take the angles of incidence or the tones that they create, you know, their color. Like you can turn color back into sound based upon, it's the same wavelength, it's just twice as long or much longer. So all you have to do is keep dividing light.
He said you could turn color into sound. It's the same wavelength, just twice as long. Listen to what I'm telling you. This is chopped up gobbledygook. What he's trying to do is do a quick study of some complicated information. And then, like, I'm telling you, this is young Pharaoh 101 right here. This is young Pharaoh 10. This is old Pharaoh. That's what, yo, that's Terrence Howard's new name. This is old Pharaoh right here. Old Pharaoh. You got young Pharaoh, old Pharaoh. He said it's the same wavelength, just twice as long. What he's trying to communicate right there is the 3-4-5 triangle and the science of octaves, right? But sound and light are not one octave apart. Sound and light are not an octave apart. So yes, the I can't even say yes and try to make it seem like it's no. Sound and light are not one octave apart. We gotta stop. Like that's a full stop right there. Sound and light are not one octave apart. That is a full stop. I'm dead. Listen to what I'm telling you. Sound and light is not. Let me replay what he said. Because he's saying it and it's all fast and jumbled up. And if you don't know this stuff, you just can't hear all of the craziness.
Twice as long or much longer. It's the same wavelength, it's just twice as long or much longer. So
it's the same wavelength, but just twice as long or much longer. What? Hold on. It's the same wavelength, but just twice as long or much longer? Oh, nigga, listen. When I first saw this, I was cracking up. I was laughing even harder than I'm laughing now, but oh, man. I have empathy in my heart because the people are so uneducated. The waves are distinguished. Frequencies are distinguished by the size of the waves. Wavelength is everything. You can't just say he's 3 feet tall, or maybe he's 5 feet tall, or maybe he's like, what are you saying, bro? That's Steph Curry is not the same height as LeBron James. LeBron James not the same size as Wembanyama. Like, what are we? If you go from blue, right, which is probably somewhere around 550 nanometers, I think, and you go to UVA or you go to X-ray, like you went from blue light, which is the nomenclature, right? But blue light depletes your body of vitamin A, but it's not going to kill you like that. You just went to ionizing radiation. Or in the opposite way, you just went to deep long wave infrared. Like you can't just, it's it's the same wavelength, but twice as long or maybe longer. Like,
well, all you have to do is keep dividing light by 2.
Keep that up, Jamie.
You keep dividing light by 2, and you'll ultimately get back to the audible sound of it, because there was a relationship between light and color, sound and tone, matter and shape. I put I sent over Walter Russell's.
I was trying to get to that. That's what.
Yeah, it's Walter Russell's periodic table that he put together. Now you compare that to what we Mendeleev's periodic table. You'll compare Walter Russell's to it, and you'll see something completely different. It's unwinding.
Whoa.
It's unwinding. And you see there's a relationship that hydrogen.
So you had figured this out at a young age?
I had already seen this. This was all inside of that palace. I had access to it, and I knew the relationship.
You saw this in dreams.
I saw it as a circle. Everything was a full circle laid out, and each area was just expanding, like wrapping a rag.
Okay. Now here we're going to take a short pause, and then let me see if I can show you what I'm saying about this here, because this is more gobbledygook. There has been mad different periodic tables, bro. So let me get y'all up to speed, because I can't even have my people running around crazy. Look at this. All you got to do is type in different periodic tables and they will all pop up. See this? These are already other people's works. These all exist. This is a periodic table right here. This is a periodic table right here. Look, this is a periodic table right here. Oh, I saw it all as a circle. I'm sure you did. It was right there on Google. Yeah, it's right there on Google where everyone... It's right there on Google where everyone can see it as a circle, right? There are a wide variety of how these elements are arranged. So there's no such a thing as you know, oh, I was gonna do this because no, bro, you gotta relax. Look at this. Look at these. Look at these. Look at these different arrangements. Look at all these different arrangements. Look at these. Look at this. Look at all these different arrangements. Somebody did a step pyramid arrangement. I tried to explain this to y'all on Saturday when this came up. Look at all these different arrangements. Now, this one is a spiral. This one is a spiral. I'm trying to explain to y'all. Look at that one right there. Wait a minute. Hold up. Hold up. Look at this one right here, because we just saw one. Now look at that right there. That looked like the shape he said he invented, right? I'm showing y'all these different arrangements. Look at this. Do y'all get what I'm saying here? This is not, I don't want y'all to be mystified by people showing, you know, like, I don't want y'all to be mystified by this type of stuff, because you can make a wide variety of arrangements of the elements. Each atom has a bunch of different qualities, right? You can arrange them by electron count. You can arrange them by molecular weight, right? Atoms have different sizes. Some of them are bigger than others. Some of them are heavier than others, right? You can arrange them by electronegativity, which is what I like, which is how they're arranged, because it makes the most sense to have them arranged. Well, the hydrogen and helium is a little confusing, but overall, the way the periodic table is arranged, it's arranged in the easiest way to understand, because all of chemistry is based on electrons bonding together, period. All of chemistry is based on covalent bonds, right? Covalent. This is how you think of covalent. Listen to this. This is a mnemonic device for you to remember covalent. Electrons go around the atom in a valence, right? Co means to share, right? So think of it as covalence. When two atoms or more share their valence, it's covalent bonding, right? That's, you never forget it that way, right? Covalence, right? It's actually covalent, but you think in your mind covalence, sharing, right? Then you have an ionic bond, and in that sense, they're not sharing, but it's still based on electrons, because the atom that's stronger steals the electrons from the other guy, and so the other guy winds up following him around, like a big homie, little homie relationship. That's how you could think of an ionic bond. A big homie, little homie type of relationship. The big homie come through, snatch everything from the little homie, and now the little homie got to follow him around in hopes that he could get his stuff back, right? That's what ionic bonds is. You know what I'm saying? So one atom will snatch the valence electrons from the other one. Now these is mine. What you gonna do? In fact, you my soldier, you with me. Let's go. You know what I'm saying? But it's still based on electrons. No matter how you look at it, it's based on electrons. And then they have a few others. They got 2 or 3 more new types of bonds, but these are only like laboratory stuff. Inside a human, right, living chemistry, you're pretty much only going to be dealing with covalent bonds. That's it in life, right? You get into technology, then ionic bonds will start to make more sense. But outside of that, that's what you need to know. Covalent, ionic. The other stuff is more theoretical and getting into some other, So because electrons is largely the controllers of chemistry, that's how the periodic table is arranged. You go from left to right. As you're going to the right of the periodic table, let's just pull up a periodic table and look at it real quick and see. And let's go back to the share. Let's go back over here. All right. No. Here we go. All right. So as we look at a periodic table, right? Okay, bang. Here's a periodic table. So when I say going from left to right, on the left side of my screen, you have hydrogen, lithium, sodium, potassium, rubidium, cesium. As you move to the right, now in this row here, you got beryllium, magnesium, etc. Then you got what? Scandium, titanium, vanadium, chromium, manganese, iron, cobalt, nickel. As you move in this direction, these atoms get stronger in terms of it's not magnetic, but magnetic is a good way to understand it because it's an attraction. It's a pull that they have for electrons. As you move to the right, these atoms have a stronger pull. And you get a full stop right here at fluorine. Fluorine is a full stop, right? This is the strongest atom on the periodic table in terms of pulling electrons. Or at least this is the strongest row, right? This is the strongest row because this is all the way to the right. So that means that fluorine is strong enough to steal atoms from oxygen. Oxygen is strong enough to steal atoms from nitrogen. Nitrogen is strong enough to steal atoms from carbon, from boron, from zinc, from copper. You see? Fluorine over here is the strongest. The reason you stop at this row right here is because these are called noble gases, this last row. And noble means that these are all bougie. They all stuck up, right? And bougie and stuck up means they don't interact with nobody. They don't deal with nobody. They too good for everybody. They're bougie. This is the bourgeoisie of the periodic table. So they're not stealing nobody's atoms, electrons, none of that. They're not interacting with nobody. They don't do nothing, but they do their own thing. That's it. So it stops right here with fluorine. And that's the basis of how this table is arranged, right? And then from there, it goes from the top row, right, to the bottom in size of weight. Right? So going to the right is electronegativity, how strong the atom is in terms of pulling electrons. Then going from the top to the bottom is weight, right? So chlorine is larger than fluorine. Bromine is larger than chlorine and fluorine. Iodine is the GOAT. Iodine is the GOAT, right? So iodine is bigger than all these guys, right? So moving to the right, strength, moving from the top to the bottom, size or weight, right? Which also plays a key role in chemical reactions. But like I said, each atom has a lot of different characteristics, and you can create all types of different arrangements based on any different. Look at this one here. Look at this. You can create all different types of periodic tables based on whatever quality Like now, the reason why people usually do this is not to style on YouTube or Joe Rogan, right? Usually because there's different disciplines of science, right? So that basic periodic table that we have, that works best if you're trying to understand organic chemistry. Organic chemistry is the science of life. That's the type of chemistry that is below biology, right? So if you want to understand biology or biochemistry, nutrition, right? And basically, biochemistry is how you feed biology, right? Biology is living systems. Biochemistry is how you feed those living systems, right? But if you want to understand either of those two, underneath that is organic chemistry. And so our periodic table is laid out basically for the organic chemist, the person who wants to understand, you know, the chemistry that makes living things, right? That's called organic chemistry, right? So when you go to Amazon, you're going to notice we got the physics book. Let me show you. Let's go there real quick. When you go to Amazon, right? You type in EnQi. Right? This is why the books came out in a certain order. Right? This is why the books came out in a certain order. Right? Now look. Look, let me show you. Let's go down here. You see? Book number 23 is physics. Then we did chemistry. Then from chemistry, we went to biochemistry. From biochemistry, we went to stereochemistry. From stereochemistry, we went to electrochemistry. From electrochemistry, we went to photochemistry, right? Because one thing is built on top of the next. And mind you, these books are built on all of these books. So this is what I'm saying. Like it's not. We gotta be able to discern the gobbledygook. But let's go back to the gobbledygook because there's a lot more. There's a lot more.
Around your hand, the first wrap, you know, it's so tight. The very first wrap is so tight. That's the first one that Walter Russell did. Yeah. But go back to the wiggly one. This is how I saw it more so, but as a vortex. But you'll see there's a relationship between hydrogen, carbon, silicon, cobalt, rhodium. They're all bonded. They're all sit as the middle point between two noble gases.
When throwing words out there goes wrong. The atoms in any periodic table arrangement are not bonded. You got to relax. When atoms bond, they form compounds or molecules. They become something different. It's no longer an atom anymore. It's a molecule or a compound.
So those things don't really exist. It's only one substance. Now, the problem is the first thing that we're able to perceive is hydrogen. That's the first visible element because before it is too dense for us to perceive it.
Yo, I don't even want to say the white guy name. I'm just holding that in the clip just in case somebody try to say, oh, EnQi, he ain't steal that from. Then I had to empty the clip. But he is doing a terrible job of remixing this man's videos. Now, Walter Russell don't even have. So let me say this. The elements that are hypothesized before hydrogen, right? They would not classify as atoms. They won't classify as an atom. Do you understand what I'm saying? Hydrogen only has one electron. When you get less than one electron, you don't have an atom. So less than an atom, you would be into the others. You would move into the space of muons and quarks and, you know, other types of charged particles, but they would not be atoms. That's number one. And number two, they would not be too dense for us to see, because if they were more dense, then they would be a rock. And you could pick it up and hold it in your hand. But atoms, just like all charged particles, are 99% empty space. So it's not that they're too dense, it's that they're not dense enough. That's why I'm trying to tell you, I need y'all to start reading these books and stop playing around.
You understand what I'm saying?
Okay.
But as you reach into the next octave, the carbon octave, and they call that the...
And listen, I'm telling y'all, 5 minutes into this video, Joe Rogan knew that Terrence Howard was full of shit, but he has a platform to run. So the best thing he was doing was just opening stuff wide open and giving polite pushback. You know, like every so often he'd give him a little pushback, like, oh, so what if you just got bad cell phone service? Or, you know, like he would just give gentle pushback. I can't wait to see what people are going to respond. He knew how people was going to respond. The scientific community been shredding this video. Only the people that don't know any science are like, yo, that was crazy. Terrence Howard was going in. No, he wasn't. He was using big words for 3 hours, but he wasn't going in. Like
a bisexual tone, because the carbon has two tones to it. It has a negative side and
yo, bruh, my man just said carbon is known as the bisexual. What? Carbon is known as the bisexual tone? Bruh. Listen, if you feel like you are a little bit ashamed of yourself because you was one of the people that thought that Terrence Howard really went in, it's okay. The books are on Amazon, right? Start wherever you at. You know, get Melanin vs. Diabetes book 1, or get going though. Stop playing around. Get them books. Get 2 copies of each one. Like, start reading them books in groups. Like, study, get to studying. The days that I'm not online, you're supposed to be studying, not watching 3 hours of other goofball. Like, y'all watch this nigga for 3 hours. You know, you could have read half a book. In the time that you was watching this Terrence Howard video and then talking to other people about the video, you know, you could have read a whole book. You could have consumed some real information. That's the thing about understanding time. That's why the movement book is important, to understand time management. Listen, time is movement. Right? You got to get that book, the movement book. Literally, it's called the movement book for a reason. Time is movement. Movement is what? You got 2 types of energy. You got potential energy and you got kinetic energy. So that means energy and time is linked together because both of them are defined as movement. This nigga just said carbon is bisexual. Y'all gotta chill, bro. This is what I'm saying. I don't know how to deal with y'all. I gotta question y'all. What's happening with y'all out there? I gotta question what's going on with y'all. Y'all all saying Drake got bodied by Kendrick. Meanwhile, Kendrick wrote them songs with a gay prostitution group called the House of Ebony. So, and now you got Terrence Howard talking about carbon is bisexual. I don't know what's. I'm gonna just say pause for all of y'all niggas that's at home confused. Pun intended on the confused.
Carbon octave, and they call that a bisexual tone. The carbon octave, and they call that a bisexual tone. The carbon octave, and they call that a bisexual.
Yo, why he lick his lips before? What's happening with Hollywood, bro? Listen, y'all need to learn a lesson from Brother Polite. Did y'all ain't learn nothing from Brother Polite? Did y'all learn anything from Brother Polite? That's what I'm trying to ask y'all. Did y'all learn anything from Brother Polite? What happened to Brother Polite? He was so thirsty to be out there. What did he do? He did a video saying, in order to be rich, you got to be where the rich people at and do what the rich people do. And then what happened? A couple days later, he gets busted out there with transgender people on a double date with transgender people. Him and Brother Yachty. No, Yachty Awakening. Yachty Awakening. Polite and Yachty Awakening got busted with transgender people on a date. Just like Tevin Campbell, just like Mr. C, just like Eddie Murphy. Polite got caught out there with and he was having a good time. Then later on, more sexual deviant behavior. And then now y'all all pumping up Terrence Howard. Y'all all pumping him up as he's saying that carbon is bisexual. Hold on. Hold up. Wait a minute. Hold on. Now we're gonna go. Hold on, because he's here in this video saying that carbon is bisexual, and then what is he saying in this video? What are we saying in this video here? What are we doing over here? What are we doing over here? I'm just asking. I'm just asking. I'm not judging. I'm not judging. I'm just asking. I'm just asking a question. What is really going on? All I'm asking is what's really going on. That's all I'm saying. What is happening right now? I'm just let y'all answer the question. Y'all wanted me to do this video. EnQi, good, break it down. EnQi, we want you to. Okay, well, here we go. This is, come on now. Come on now. Come on now. Come on now.
You understand what I'm saying?
Okay.
But as you reach into the next octave, the carbon octave, and they call that a bisexual tone octave, the carbon octave, and they call that a bisexual tone because the carbon has two tones to it. It has a negative side and a positive side. The part where lithium behaves, lithium is contractive. Beryllium is contractive. Boron is contractive, but the moment you get to carbon, you balance it out. It gets to a perfect balance of plus and minus 4. So it's a double tone. Then nitrogen is -3,1, -3, oxygen is -2, fluorine is -1. Now the balance of this, all of those are mates. Fluorine and lithium naturally mate. If you have lithium bonded with any other element, the moment that fluorine is introduced, it will break all bonds violently so it can bond with fluorine. Same thing with beryllium and oxygen. That's why it said, and what they've tried to keep from us, if you want to break water into its component parts of hydrogen and oxygen, all you have to do is introduce beryllium or the sound of beryllium. And oxygen will violently break away from any other thing, even hydrogen.
Listen. Yo, I really need, Second Ezra, if you watch this video, listen, the next design you got to come up with is, yo, Sa, can you hit the share button? Yo, hit the share button, Sa. Something like that. You got to come up with a hit the share button and throw Sa another name in there. Yo, Sa, hit the share button. Because when I say hit the share button, you know all hell be right about to break loose right there. Right? It just be like at that moment. Yo, hit the share button. Okay, so if you would have went to a simple Googler, if you would have did a simple Googly, just a little tiny simple Googly, you would see that right there. And what is that right there? EnQi, we can't see it. It's too small. You see that now? Okay, hold on. Let's make it even bigger. Let's read this all together, class. Beryllium is the only alkaline earth metal that what? Does not react with water. Come on, let's read this all together again. Beryllium is the only alkaline earth metal that does not react with water. Okay, one more time for the people all the way in the back. Come on now. Beryllium is the only alkaline earth metal that does not Yo, I'm dead. This nigga's wild for this shit. Yo, this nigga wild, bro. Let me tell you, I used to hate back in the days. I used to be tight. Like, I'd be tight. You know what I'm saying? Like, damn, how I'm putting all this, like we solving diabetes, we solving heart disease, like we getting busy for real. How the hell does this nigga get on Joe Rogan? And I learned these larger platforms only interested in highlighting a certain type of angle on us. Vlad TV is only going to promote people on his panel talking about they killed people or they got shot trying to kill people, right? He's not going to put somebody on his page talking about they're trying to save people or they're actually saving people. Like, that's not going to go on his platform. He's going to ridicule that and put killers on his page because that's the angle they want to promote you from. Or you got to look like a damn fool. You know what I'm saying? So if you can mislead a bunch of niggas, oh, they're going to give you a platform all day. If you can mislead the masses, especially the masses of young black men, but the masses in general, because a lot of people are tilting the capitalist scale on the wrong side. I'm a fan of capitalism, but there's ways to manipulate the scale. You could put your finger on either side, right? So a lot of people try to maintain power by keeping everybody else ignorant. And so anytime you have the opportunity to promote somebody that seems intelligent, that's going to gather up a bunch of people to follow them down the road of ignorance, let's get him a mic. Let's get him a mic. Anybody that's getting ready to level the playing field, and all of a sudden these people that was ignorant no longer going to be ignorant. Hold on. Turn his mic off. He got to earn his. Let him find his own platform. Let him do it his own. He got to do that by himself. Now, this nigga with this gobbledygook, oh, you're going to drop some beryllium in water. Now, if you want to learn how to, listen, everybody, quiet down. If you want to learn how to break down water molecules, first of all this, and this the same shit with Arturo Salas, the nigga that told y'all that melanin is human chlorophyll and that melanin does human photosynthesis. Gobbledygook. Not only is that gobbledygook, Arturo Salas Herrera, that's pure gobbledygook, but all of the fake herbal healers that you hear repeating that, they don't know science, but they're taking advantage of the fact that you don't know. So they go, oh yeah, look, and they show you a picture, a wrong picture too. Look at melanin, and they'll show you melanin is not even in the picture. They'll show you a picture of hemoglobin and pigment, and go, yeah, look, melanin. No, hemoglobin and chlorophyll are made based on porphins, just like, or porphyrins, like B12, like cobalt, got that corin ring, right? Those are the same structure. Melanin doesn't even have that structure. Melanin is photovoltaic, but that's my discovery. So anybody getting ready to promote that? Number one, nobody's getting ready to promote that. Number two, if they do promote that, science got to change. And science got to change based on a nigga with gold teeth from 158th Street. But they will gladly give the mic to a nigga that's telling you some super, like, this is crazy right here. This is crazy right here. And this is the type of stuff that if I told you that somebody said this, you wouldn't even believe it. If I told you somebody, you'd be like, EnQi, you making that up. No, we got my man on video. That's what he did on Joe Rogan in front of the whole world. That's what he said.
Oxygen will violently break away from any other thing, even hydrogen, to bond with that beryllium. And now you can have it just with the frequency of it. And since the beryllium, any other, and oxygen will violently break away from beryllium of hydrogen and oxygen. All you have to do is introduce beryllium to keep from us. If you want to break water into its component parts of hydrogen and oxygen, all you have to do is introduce beryllium or the
water does not react with beryllium. That's number one. Water does not react with beryllium. Number two, there is nothing special about this breaking water molecules thing. There's nothing special about that at all. Water molecules constantly break and come back together again with movement. Anything that makes water molecules move makes them break and come back together again. That's what water molecules do. That's like the difference between stagnant, dead water and moving, flowing water. Moving, flowing water, those molecules is always breaking apart and coming back together. And because they're always breaking apart and coming back together, water is always reacting with anything that's in it. That's why water is known as what's called the nucleophile. A nucleophile is a term speaking about something that's always donating electrons. That's what nucleophiles do. They donate electrons, period. So inside your body, you have ammonia, which is a nucleophile, and you have water, which is a nucleophile. Now, if you want to translate that into something familiar, you could refer to it as an alkaline, right? Something that donates electrons, right? But the proper term is called the nucleophile. Now, the reason is different. Ammonia is a high-level base. Water is different. Water is constantly, it's the structure of water that makes water special, right? But you don't need to, like, that's not a thing. Like, he made that like that's a thing. Oh, and if you want to break apart the water molecule, all you got to do is introduce beryllium. No, all you got to do is shake up a cup. Just shake up a cup, or just put any music next to your water. Any music is going to make the water start vibrating. Once the water start moving, it's a wrap. Once the water starts moving, it's a wrap. That's why water is the key to life. You got to remember, at one point, this planet was gas, and the sun really couldn't even get through the atmosphere. The sun couldn't even really get through the atmosphere like that. So the molecules and the compounds that formed on the early Earth had to do that with mechanical energy. So life started with mechanical energy.
The sound of beryllium, and oxygen will vibrate beryllium to its component parts of hydrogen and oxygen. All you have to do is introduce beryllium, or the sound of beryllium, and oxygen will violently break away from any other thing, even hydrogen, to bond with that beryllium. And now you can have it just with the frequency of it. And since the hydrogen is smaller, hydrogen will, that waveform, you can send that up into one tube, the oxygen into another tube, without using electrolysis, without using heat. It was just through frequency. And the proof of it, if you go back up just a little bit higher, we know the relationship between sodium and chlorine. They're equal and opposite mates. If you get out of the pool and you got chlorine and you're itching from the chlorine, all you have to do is get some real salt and rub that on your skin, and it'll turn right into an oil.
Chlorine and sodium are not equal and opposite. There's no such a thing as that. Equal and opposite. Yo, if they was equal and opposite, then sodium would be an isotope of chlorine, or chlorine would be an isotope of sodium.
It naturally neutralizes each other. So everything has an equal and opposite mate.
Now, what actually happens is chlorine. Should we go back to a chart? Did I take it down? Do I got it up there still? Okay, no, I still got it right here. Look, we can go to it right quick. Look, this is what actually happens. This is what actually happens. Here's sodium, right? Here's sodium, all the way on the left side. Right? All the way on the left side. That means it's the weakest. These are the weakest atoms. These are the weakest atoms. So anybody can grab their electrons. Now, chlorine is where? Over here in the strongest row. In the strongest row. So what's actually happening is chlorine is stealing those electrons. Chlorine is stealing those electrons. This is the basic formula for what? Table salt. Yeah, this shit crazy. This shit crazy.
The lithium becomes sodium in the next octave, doubles the same exact tone, just doubled and wider. The sodium becomes potassium in the next octave, widens up. The reason that arsenic kills us is because our DNA has nitrogen and it has phosphorus in it, because nitrogen unwinds into the next octave right after silicon and becomes phosphorus. Our DNA has both of those in there, but it's going by tone. So the moment arsenic, which sits as a -3 on the next octave, the moment arsenic is introduced, the body thinks that, oh, this is my thing that I need. And it tries to wrap itself around the arsenic, but it causes the DNA to unravel because it's 4 times as large as that nitrogen was.
Okay. I think I just figured out where he's getting these numbers from. Okay, so atoms have different amounts of bonds that they can make. Some atoms, well, like hydrogen anyway, is in a class by itself, right? 1 electron, so that's that, right? But for the most part, atoms can make 2 bonds, 3 bonds, or 4 bonds. Carbon is the GOAT because carbon can make 4 bonds, right? Nitrogen can make 3 bonds. But where he's going with the I don't think he understands. I don't think he understands what these numbers are. So when you get the book on stereochemistry, we talk about resonance. And when you deal with resonance in chemistry is slightly different than resonance with sound, right? Resonance in chemistry talks about the balance of electrons. It's pretty much it. The balance of electrons, where the wording is electron density. The balance of electrons, where the charge is at inside a molecule, or where, like, that's what it comes down to. The balance of electrons, just to simplify. So that's where the positive or the negative number, or the positive or negative associated with the number would come from inside of resonance, right? So if an atom winds up having more electrons or less electrons, right? Less electrons, positive, more electrons, negative. And then, of course, you got the bonds. And this has nothing to do with key of E and this atom turning into that atom, because that's now what he's confusing is radioactive decay. That's radioactive decay. That's a whole nother aspect of chemistry. But
and those other little elements, titanium, vanadium, chromium, manganese, and iron, all of those aren't true elements. Those are isotopes.
Hold up.
Those things, those first three are, those are, I say, and those other little elements, titanium, vanadium, chromium, manganese, and iron.
What just happened? Hey, you got magnesium. Listen, you got magnesium, and then you got manganese. Okay? You got magnesium and you got manganese. Right? These are actually, they were discovered the same. They were discovered the same. One is white, one is black. Magnesium is the white one. Manganese is the black one. Your man is wild for not recognize, like, he don't even recognize the word. Magase. Y'all want me to do a video reaction to explain whether Magase, is a thing. Oh shit.
All of those vanadium was. And those other little elements, titanium, vanadium, chromium, manganese, and iron, all of those aren't true elements. Those are isotopes. Those things, those first three are the full tones. They make full spheres. But now it becomes elliptical with titanium, vanadium, and chromium. And on the other side, it's like when, like I said, if you wrap the rag around your hand, the first wrap, really tight. You can't get much out of it. Second wrap, you damn near can't see the difference of it. Third one, you start seeing hydrogen. The fourth wrap, you see carbon. I need a piece of paper or a rag, and I can show you that twist. But in between each one of them, by the time you get, nature does not allow us in the silicone octave for there to expand out. But there is the same titanium, vanadium, chromium, manganese, and iron that exists between aluminum and silicone. But nature doesn't allow us to unravel that. But now with the wave conjugations, we can. We couldn't do that before because we didn't know the angles of incidence that were necessary to open these things up. And you couldn't do that with the platonic solids because the platonic solids were averages and approximations. They, like I've said a number of times, you show me a real straight line in nature. If everything in the universe, everything is expressed in motion, all motion expressed in waves, all waves were curved.
Yo, he got pulled down that rabbit hole. Listen, and I'm telling you who's behind this because he referencing his actual teacher, Billy Carson. Listen, he got pulled down that rabbit hole. And before you know it, he was watching Dan Winter's videos. So wave conjugation is not a thing. He made that up. That's not even a thing. That's not a thing. You could use them together in a sentence, right? But the term that you would be referring to is phase conjugation. Phase conjugation of a wave. Wave conjugation would be referring to a wave changing, right? So if you just use the two words, you can obviously use them in a sentence, wave conjugation. But together as a term, that's not a thing. So if you use them together like wave conjugation and you're talking about wave transforming because there's energy being added or energy being taken away, fine. But if you're using them as a term, like what he just did, that is incorrect. That is super incorrect. That does not exist as a term. The term is phase conjugation. And I said to myself, this nigga just, wait a minute. Let me. I don't know how much longer I could do this. And I still didn't get to Flower of Life because Flower of Life is wrong. And I told y'all the other day, I tried to tell y'all in a nice way. I was like, hey, he said Flower of Life is 6,000 years old, blah, blah, blah. I know for a fact he not reading. He just going down these YouTube. You got to read, people. He just going down these YouTube rabbit holes. Drumvalo Melchizedek got people going crazy with this Flower of Life stuff. And he had to recant Drumvalo Melchizedek had to recant because they found out the flower of life is not 6,000 years old. It's not a part of the Osirian temple. It's not. They added that on there. That shit is 2,000-year-old graffiti. Shit is not 6,000 years old. It wasn't built with the temple. That shit is 2,000 years old graffiti.
Reaction has an equal and opposite reaction. So the greater the action, the greater the reaction. The greater the reaction, the greater the resistance. The greater the resistance, the greater the curvature. Because the universe is based off of equanimity, which Einstein left out in his theory of relativity, the balancing side of the gravity was caused by electric force.
Yeah, I think we could. I don't want to keep doing this to this guy, bro. It's like I said, I do think that Terrence Howard is intelligent. I don't, like I said, I think he's doing this for attention. Now, he has the attention. I don't know what he's going to do with the attention, but he did not, that wasn't a deep video. He wasn't educating the people in that video. Oh, you know what? We got to see something else in this video. Hold up. We got to see one more thing before we get out of here. We got to see one more thing before we get out of here, because people went crazy with this. It was like, oh, Terrence Howard, he made this, the flying things. Let me show y'all something about them damn flying things. That was a super deep fake. That was a deep fake. That was a deep fake. Hold on. That was a super deep fake. Here we go.
Second videos, I'll explain it out, but you'll see how these things align themselves. Well, this is the swarm, and they're all following this queen as a colony, and they'll do everything that she's doing. Go to the very first.
That is not a video. That is an animation. That is not a video. That's an animation. He shows people the model, right? He shows people a model. So this is how it works when you're trying to get something invented in a certain type of way. You have an idea, right? And then you make a mock-up of that idea. Now, that mock-up doesn't actually work. It's just a physical representation of your idea. Now, what you're trying to do is get somebody with some money. Listen, this is how it goes. So if y'all want to do stuff like this, you could do it, right? I'd love to find some folks with some money so that I could do it. But I want to explain to you guys at home so y'all not in the dark, because he's just using y'all for attention to get everybody to buzz on it and then try to get a bag, right? Which nothing's wrong with that, but I just don't want y'all to be confused at what you're seeing. So you have an idea. You make a physical mock-up. I'm like, yo, this right here is a rocket that, like a self-propelled rocket, and, it's fueled by whatever. And I make up a mock-up so that people could see what I'm thinking of, right? Now, what I want to do is I want to find an investor, somebody with deep pockets that believes in me, right? Now, once that person gives me, now my projections to him in terms of money is going to be the cost, but not only the cost, but the research and development for the engineers that are actually going to make this into a real thing, because it's not a real thing. It's just an idea in my mind. Like, for instance, Steve Jobs had an idea. Steve Jobs was not an engineer, though. So he needed Steve Wozniak and a couple of other guys to help actually make the Apple computers. Steve Jobs did not design the computer. Steve Jobs came up with the idea, the look, and how it should work. Yeah, we need a simplified, it should work like this, and it should be easy for everybody to. I've got to find me some guys that can make that a reality. Those are your engineers, right? So whether those are chemical engineers, technical engineers, architectural engineers, that's what engineers do. Engineers come and they actually make the thing, right? But engineers are not always inventors, so they don't come up with the ideas for the thing to be invented. So you usually have an idea guy, then you need a money guy, and then you have to go get engineers to make it a real thing. In today's world, you can not only make up a mock-up of the thing that's in your mind, but you can also make a 3D representation animated, right? Not real. It's an idea, so that not only can you make the mock-up, right? But then you can make an animated version of the mock-up so that the engineers can see your vision, basically, what you want this thing to be able to do. So what he's doing on Joe Rogan is showing the 3D animation as if these are already working models, and niggas is going crazy like, yo, you see those things, that flying thing? Yo, I'm telling you, that's the proof that he really deep, because he invented that flying thing. That's crazy. Da, da, da. That's not a real thing. That only exists in his mind. He would like to find Elon Musk because Elon Musk represents the engineers and the money. That's one-stop shopping. If he gets funding from anywhere else, he's got to get the money, and then he's got to go find the engineers himself.
First video, there's 4 in a row on it. Oh, that's how it came up to you. Well, let's see.
See that?
And what's powering them?
CGI.
Right now, we're going to use hydrogen fuel cells.
Did you hear what he said? Hold on, because the commercial came right in at that moment. Joe Rogan said, "What's powering them?" And he said, "We're going to use hydrogen fuel cells. We're going to use. We're going to, not we're using. We're going to use." See, he's not being transparent. He's being evasive because he knows that he's misleading people. And Joe Rogan he's softly questioning, because it's his platform, and he got a relationship with Terrence Howard. Terrence Howard is a great person to have a relationship with. Terrence Howard, it's a good person to have a relationship with. So you don't necessarily want to burn that bridge. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to burn that bridge. But that's not what you thought it was right there.
If you make at least 150 grand a year and you're still embarrassed to take your shirt off at the pool, I'll get you.
If you make 150 grand a year, I'll get you shredded. These internet niggas is wild.
Another system, that I was going to talk about in a second, but it's an unlimited source of power. But,
so hydrogen fuel cells,
or you can use lithium batteries.
And how are they moving? Like, what are those? Is that like are those like propellers?
Yeah, those are props. But
okay,
but that right there, what we have.
Yeah, those are props. But
up right there is it's a pitch. Collective pitch. So instead of
hopefully, guys. Oh, do we need to look up? Should we look up some Flower of Life information? Should we look it up? Let's look it up as a group. Let's look it up as a group real quick. As a group, let's look up Flower of Life. Let's just look this up as a group. Let's go on over here to Wiki, and let's just see what Wiki says. Flower of Life is created by forming a circle, blah, blah, blah. The symbol of creation. Okay. You see that? Suggestions that they are over 6,000 years old and may date back as long as 10,500 BC or earlier are entirely speculative and not based on any factual reality. All right, let's stroll down and see what is going on. Most archaeologists maintain they're at least 6,000 years old, though some have argued that it dates to the 2nd century AD. Now, mind you, this is ancients.net. Some believe to be 6,000 years old. See, this is the new language. Believed to be 6,000 years old. And nobody is telling you they are, because everybody wants to leave that doubt. Let's see what this say here. Oh, no, look at this. Look what they saying right here. Look. The Flower of Life circle cluster appears on stone surfaces of the Osirian and are believed by some to be 6,000 years old. There is no evidence at all for this, but there is strong evidence for a very approximate later dating. This evidence has been ignored by enthusiasts for the exotic prehistoric theories that have been woven around the early date. The Osirian itself is certainly far older than the adjacent New Kingdom temple of Seti I. The flower wall engraving, however, from its positioning, execution, and content, shows no signs of being contemporaneous with the construction of the building itself. Right? I mean, that's pretty good right there. That's pretty good right there. And it's showing it to you. Close study of David Furlong's photos of the various versions of the figure at various stages of geometric development that appear on the square column shows that amid the circle clusters, there is a lot of writing. It is clearly visible as such. Though no translation can be hazarded yet, many individual letters can be read. They are Greek. They are Greek. The Greeks who inherited the Kemetic kingdom. They conquered it. They inherited it. Right? Inherited sounds more pleasant. They stole it. Right? They put their own thing there. Why not? It's my house now. I move in, I could paint. I move in, I could paint. But do the math, look it up. You got people saying it's the 2nd century AD, and then you have some other information, which might be a little bit more credible, saying that it's from somewhere around 500 to 600 AD. But by no means is there any credible scholars saying that the people that built the Osirian complex also put that flower of life there. And what I'm saying is, if Terrence had done the study longer. I showed you Neath on Saturday. I showed you Neath. I said, now look, here's Neath. Here's the shape above Neath's head. Here's what the story says, right? Because in Kemet, they give you science in story, right? So there's always a story or a set of stories associated with scientific principles. So here's Neath. She weaves the fabric of matter together. Here's the shape associated with Neath. So you have a couple of variations on that shape above Neath's head. But understand what that is. Individually, they refer to it as fishies, right? Because they refer to the cosmic background as water, right? So you have the waters of Nu. The individual units they refer to as fish, right? Take it up with the Kemetics, go back in time and argue with them. But this is the fabric that later on became the ether. So now am I saying the ether doesn't exist? No, I'm saying the ether was a retelling of some science that was either communicated to the Greek scholars or they snatched it from the libraries and did some self-study with it, right? And then from there, the retelling and the retelling and the retelling got to us, and it wasn't exactly clear. And when it got to us, because it conflicted with what at the time the preeminent scientists out of Germany were trying to do, and Albert Einstein was at the head of that pack. He shouldn't have been at the head of that pack because he wasn't the guy, but he was at the head of that pack for more so for politics. You got to remember, at the time when this is happening, you're dealing with pre-Nazi, like Nazis just didn't pop up overnight. The Nazi thing developed over time. You know what I'm saying? Developed for one man. You know what I'm saying? And that man had to communicate and gather like minds and get them to communicate and do teaching and classes and lectures and win people over to it. So it didn't just happen overnight. That thing grew until it got popular all over the country and everybody believed it. And then they went and started trying to take over the world and do their thing. You know what I'm saying? But there were people that, dissenters, people that didn't believe in the Nazi propaganda at the time. You know what I'm saying? Those people were shunned. Then there was people that didn't believe in the propaganda, but they played up to the people in power. So they kept their platform. They kept their voice, similar to how YouTube rocked the algorithms. If you're saying things that they don't want, then you out the algorithm, build your own shit. If you're saying something they want to be echoed through the masses, then they're going to run up your views. And make no mistake, YouTube controls views. This is why when you watch a video, right? When you watch a video, another video will come on after your video. Well, guess what? That's a view. Think about this. When you watch a video and that video goes off, another video comes on. Even if you don't watch it, even if it comes on for 1 or 2 seconds and you turn it off, that counts as a view for that video. That counts as a view for that video. That is a video that's in the algorithm. So that video is being pushed. When somebody's watching something that they want to watch, at the end of that, another video is going to start playing. If you don't select the video, another video is going to start playing. That's something from the algorithm that they want to run up. So with all of the millions and millions of people that's watching YouTube every day, when they force these videos to just start playing, that's how videos runs up. Now, when people see the large numbers, they get interested based on numbers. We program that way. I'm no different. I see he's got 100,000 views. I'm like, oh shit, let me see what that is. Now you get actual viewers because of the number. You assume based on views that it's interesting. Like, oh shit, let me see this. I must have missed this. Let me click on this. And now you start to build momentum. Now you start to build momentum. And that's what shadow banning is, because they basically have categories. So there's categories of videos that are promoted. Those are videos that come on. Then there's videos that's just neutral. We ain't going to promote these, but we're not going to unpromote these either. Then there's shadow ban. Shadow ban is when even when you subscribe to a channel, you don't get a notification. Then you know that channel is shadow banned. If you subscribe to a channel and they going live and you don't get a notification, they shadow banned. They have a limiter put on their channel so that only maybe, 10% of their subscribers are alerted to the video. 20%, 30%, 50%, right? You see some people go live and have damn near the same amount of subscribers that they got is in the live, right? All that has to do with the algorithms and all of that kind of stuff, right? So we got to keep pushing on. We got to keep, keep the cash apps coming in. We got to keep the study going. Y'all got to buy these books, read these books, study these books, get sharp, get proficient with these books. So you could be out there cutting people's asses. Respectfully. I know we might have some children watching, but the children, you need to be sharp too, damn it. Yeah. Yeah, I know y'all hear this kind of language in the music, in movies, at school, everywhere. Relax, parents. These children have to get sharp because they got to go out into the world and they got to be able to discern right from wrong when you're not around. If you could barely get them to do the right thing while they right next to you, what you think they're going to do when you're not there? They got to have the information, and they're not going to get the information if you don't got it. So you got to read, and then you got to teach what you read into them, and then you got to let them read it for themselves in that order. Because they're not going to understand the material until you teach it to them first, orally. Then you let them read the book after. That's how it goes. So first you read the book and study it. Then you teach it to them so you can learn it better. As you teach, you get a better understanding of it. Then you let them read the book. And as they're reading, just make sure you're telling them not to be intimidated by the big words. Whenever something come up that they don't understand, come to you with the book and talk about it. You know what I'm saying? Oh, what is this word right here? Oh, that's neurotransmitter. What's that? That's the stuff that's an email going from one brain cell to another brain cell. That's a text message going from one brain cell to another brain cell. Right? Depending on how old your children are. You know what I'm saying? You just got to simplify it for them. And as you're simplifying it for them, you're also building those neurons for yourself. So you're developing better understanding as you're teaching it. Right? But that's what we're doing. And then pretty soon I need y'all to start writing these books. So this week I'll be putting the assessment up on the AmericanHealer website. I'll be putting the assessment up so people can start taking assessments, because we did finish one book in our Patreon, right? We're on book 2 now, right? So people can start taking their assessment. And some people have already went through book 1 and they already, swaggy. So people are ready for their assessment. Because I remember when I first mentioned it, people was like, oh, I'm ready to take my assessment today. All right, I hope so. I want to read some of these. Essays coming in. Right? I want to read some of this work coming in, but we got to start building. We got to get more aggressive with our building. Absolutely. See, See how it makes sense once you see what's really going on? Once you see what's really going on, the stuff, it just click. Oh, that was all recruiting. Absolutely. Because he doesn't know how to do that. If he knew it the way he's pretending to know it, he wouldn't be recruiting engineers. He would be the engineer. But he's not. He's the idea guy. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm an idea guy. I'm not an engineer. I just wouldn't fake being an engineer. I wouldn't pretend to be an engineer. You know what I'm saying? I would say, hey, I got some ideas. I need an engineer to come make this into a reality for me. But before you do that, you got to find an investor. That's how that go. Because the investor has to pay for the engineer's time. And that's where you see, like, how many of y'all is watching that show now, Dark Matter? There's a show out called Dark Matter. You should check it out. It's a science show, you know, so you know I'm watching it, right? But the episode, I mean, it's cool. It's cool. You know what I'm saying? Apple makes good TV shows. But it's about a guy, a physicist. Well, he's a physics teacher in one dimension. He's a physicist in another dimension, right? So the basics of the show, even though they don't really talk about it, is string theory, right? So that's what they kind of, I guess, trying to bring some more energy back to. Because if you notice, string theory kind of died out. Or string theory was a vibe, and then string theory kind of died out, right? But I guess they're trying to reinvigorate the idea of string theory in the public mind. So first of all, let me say this before I even talk about the show. You guys got to understand how much power you got. Your attention is everything. You have a soul. You have a soul. Listen, you have a soul. I want to empower you. Listen, if you are not subscribed to this channel, subscribe to this channel. Subscribe. Make sure you subscribe. Click the notification button. Turn on the notifications. I want to empower you. I don't want to steal your soul from you. That's why I believe in informing, in teaching, right? But your attention is literally how you form bonds with your soul. That's why that's the most valuable thing in the world right now. That's how people can make a job as an influencer. What is an influencer? You're somebody who directs attention. You direct attention. I depend on you guys to send in the cash apps. I don't have no commercials playing on my videos. My channel is not monetized. I don't have, and I've been qualified for monetization. I don't have that. I don't have a sponsor. I don't have to stop the show and go, oh, hey, and you know, drink such and such as vodka, because vodka is amazing for what the I'm looking at these. I'm like, yo, this is crazy. Look at Wallow for $1 million worth of game. If you notice, Wallow lets Gilly do most of the liquor promoting. If you notice that, you know what I'm saying? Because it seems like to me, now this is my opinion. It seems like to me for Wallow that the liquor is a necessary evil. So it's, we got to promote this liquor to have our big platform and do what we do. You know what I'm saying? But remember when Nas said, I ain't never selling no liquor. I ain't never doing no liquor promotions. Niggas selling out doing liquor promotions. What Nas doing? Liquor promotions, right? And then after he do the liquor promotions, out of nowhere, he gets invisible influxes of cash from investments in technology. So, and listen, if you see me selling some liquor, then, you know, it's on. You know what I'm saying? Me, I will just suggest right now, because people ask me, like, yo, what should I drink? If you're going to drink, you know, there's liquors that are vegan, there's liquors that are not. So you probably want to go the vegan route as opposed to, you know, but other than that, I don't have a liquor to sell. You know what I'm saying? So there's none of that. You know what I'm saying? It's just your support. So this is purely for you, by you, right? But your mind is everything. It is the most valuable thing on earth. So being able to direct people's attention is the most valuable thing, because when you direct a lot of attention, there's people that's always looking to invest, and they looking to invest in what people are looking to buy. How do they judge what people are looking to buy? Interest. So now Terrence Howard goes on Joe Rogan and does all this. He says all this stuff that he knows for a fact. He went to school for chemical engineering, so he knows damn well he just making them gobbledygook, throwing shit out there, right? But he also knows that he could generate a few $100 million if he can get an investor to come in and find some engineers to make them gadgets. Oh, he got one with that. No. That's if he could get somebody to come in and create those things that are run on a fuel cell. Now, I don't know how he talk about mining the, like, again, it's a lot of truth in there wrapped in crazy foolishness and gobbledygook, right? Because you're talking about a whole, the most advanced technology would be the polymer that you would have to wrap that in to get that into outer space, right? With a fuel cell, a hydrogen fuel cell in there. Come on, man. That little tiny thing will blow up. So how it flies and all that would be the least of your worries. But the bottom line is, it's a great idea. The way they function together and they come together and all that. And that's really, the human mind is unlimited. So if you can come up with the idea and show people the vision, somebody else can come in and put the nuts and bolts together to make that a reality. Period. There was a time on this planet where people thought flying was impossible, where people thought cars was impossible, and somebody saw it, and then they found engineers to make it. That's why Henry Ford said, you don't have to know everything. You just got to find people to know it. All you need is the vision. And then you find the people to know and fill in the vision. That's what he's trying to do. But everything else in that video was to create buzz all around everywhere, so that everybody is like, oh my God, I want one of those Terrence Howard things. I want one of those Terrence Howard things. Where can I buy one? Right now, he's being flooded with people saying, I want to buy one. And what he's doing is taking all that email and he's showing all that email to potential investors saying, look, how many people want one? So put this bag up. Let me go ahead and make these, and then we get rich. You know what I'm saying? Like, put that bread up and let's go. You know what I'm saying? Like, but those don't exist. That's not a working model. He doesn't have those. He didn't build those. It's an idea and a plastic mock-up. He doesn't actually have a remote somewhere where he can show you them joints flying around nowhere. That was a CGI graphic. That was an animation. That was a cartoon. Right. Then my man don't even get my name right in the video. Yo, he don't even get my name right in the video. I'm done. He don't even get my name right in the video. That shit was crazy, bro. I don't know what to say. Peace and blessings out there to everybody. My name is Dr. EnQi, the founder of the Melanin versus Diabetes movement and ministry. Our goal is to fight diabetes by creating a biochemically literate society, one book at a time, one person at a time, one household at a time.
Peace to the family. This is Abdul Ali, candidate for U.S. House District 12 here in Charlotte, North Carolina. Let's just be real, folks. The Democrats have destroyed our major cities. Their policies have made us less safe, they've given us less economic opportunity, and they've provided less educational opportunities for our children. And that's why I'm running for Congress, because I know what it takes to improve these issues. I've got great working relationships already in D.C. I've spent the last 10 years of my life building my political resume so that one of us, somebody who thinks like we do, could get into D.C. and make a difference. I want you to visit aliforcongress.com to find out more about my campaign.
Oh, here, look. Now that because Instagram only allows you 1 hour. So now I could go back and show the video again. This is the guy who he stole that whole Walter Russell. Look, this is the white guy, just in case it went by too fast.
Minerals above and 5 minerals below.
It ain't no fun when a rabbit got the gun, you heard?
And cobalt on this chart here is surrounded by 5 minerals above and 5 minerals below, called isotopes. And without B12, you cannot pull in iron, manganese, chromium, nickel, copper, zinc, germanium, titanium, vanadium. You just can't get them in. Simple as that.
So not only am I telling you that he stole the drip, I'm showing you where he stole that whole presentation from. Yeah, this shit crazy.
It ain't no fun when a rabbit got the gun, you heard?
And cobalt on this chart here is surrounded by 5 minerals above and 5 minerals below, called isotopes. And without B12, you cannot